Hey, welcome back to the Jon Gil Podcast Show. Super excited. In this episode today, we're going to discuss the top 5 surprises that investors face when they are buying a property. So stay tuned. This is an episode you don't want to miss. All right, welcome back. So as I mentioned, we're going to discuss the top 5 things you have to look out for as an investor. And these are items that honestly you just kind of learn along the way. So hopefully you're going to learn from my growing pains. And I've realized that this is kind of a general consensus amongst other different real estate investors. And the reason is, well, you'll hear it. So let's just get to it, okay? Number 5, we have damaged beams and joists. So when the only way that you're going to find this, by the way, is if you are doing a full gut rehab and you start taking down all the drywall on the ceiling, sometimes you'll notice that some of the beams or joists are cracked or they don't have enough support. And so you're going to have to, add additional support to those beams. And that's just an added cost that there's no way that you would have found out had you just done your regular home inspection, right? And there's 2 different types of issues that come up. There's one called a latent defect and a patent defect. And a patent defect is one in which you can actually observe with your eye. It's obvious. You go to your inspection, you check out just something doesn't seem right. You look under the sink, maybe seems to be some sort of leak, or a damage there. So those are very easily observed damages. Now there's another one called latent defects, and those are the ones that are not are disclosed, and because all those patent defects usually should also kind of be disclosed, but they aren't always. And so these and actually latent defects too. I mean, there's some things that maybe the seller knows about but isn't disclosing. In any event, latent defects are the ones that you cannot easily observe with the eye. And this is a great example. When you take out the drywall, you start noticing these issues, and that just adds to your overall budget. Okay, so keep that in mind and look out for that next time. It's going to be tough to find that out because, again, you also have insulation sometimes in the ceiling, so that's tough. Or let's say it's a property that just has a crawl space and you can't go into the basement and look up. That one's also issue. That one also seems to be an issue. I mean, I've went into one where you had to rip off the entire floor, and then we noticed, oh shoot, there's some damage here. So we had to get all of that replaced. So keep an eye out for that. That's just something that you might want to add into your contingency budget. And as far as your contingency is concerned, when you're working out your construction costs, it's always good to put about 5 to 10% on top of your total construction budget. Okay, so let's continue. Number 4, flooding. That's right. If you live in the city of Chicago, or actually the surrounding suburbs like Des Plaines, Morton Grove, Skokie, a lot of these suburbs have issue with flooding. So that's something really to keep in mind. And one way to mitigate that is just through sump pumps, drain tiles. And so you're going to want to speak to your plumber to ensure that they're looking around and observing if there's any sort of issues. Your home inspector would also notice that as well. So for example, they have these tests where they can actually test if a particular part of the wall shows dampness, and that can mean that water is receding in through the foundation. So that's a big one as well. And just look out for that, because that, again, going back to patent defects and latent defects, that's not always observable. A great technique, or not technique, but just something to look out for is if you're going to the property, when you head to the basement, if you see that the wall on the floor has some discoloration, or you notice that there's a difference in color, that could be signs of maybe past flooding. So you always want to ask the seller if there has been any prior issues relating to that. Now, if it's a bank-owned property, obviously you're taking it as is, and so you're going to have to do your due diligence there. So let's continue. Number 3, leaks. And I know we said flooding, so this kind of ties into that, but here I'm talking about copper leaks, PVC leaks, toilet leaks, roof leaks, dishwasher leaks, sinks that leak, windows sometimes will leak, so look out for those issues as well. And even on renovated properties, or sometimes even on new construction properties, they should have tested the lines, but but it does come up. Okay, but even on rehab properties or on older properties, you're gonna always deal with leaking issues, and it's something that most tenants, when they move into a place, are expecting it'll be solid, but just understand that these things do come up. Or underneath the kitchen sink, sometimes there'll be a lot of material. The tenant might have, pots and pans. Well, when they move those pots and pans around, sometimes it keeps hitting and banging up against the PVC. If there's PVC there, sometimes there's metal. So, but in any event, that keeps hitting up against the kitchen sink, and that's where you get the leaks. So another big one is dishwashers. Happens all the time. These brand new dishwashers, eventually they'll malfunction. And so you'll start seeing leaking from the dishwasher, and that creates problems because if you're on the third floor, all that water goes straight down. That's why, typically the garden unit might have the most amount of problems because all the water goes straight down to their unit. Obviously the first floor would experience issues as well, but eventually all of that ends up at the garden unit. So keep that in mind if you're leasing out a garden unit. You want to ask, as a tenant, you'd want to ask, if the, property has if the building owner, landlord, property manager, if they've done any repairs to prevent these sort of leaks. But it's still going to come up, I'm telling you. It just will. So as an investor, keep that in mind. If you're going to do a buy and hold, these are the sort of issues, repair and maintenance items that you're going to have to budget for. So if you're doing a fix and flip, obviously you want to make sure that everything has been tested, all the lines have been tested, so that there aren't any issues, and that you're home and then the new buyer isn't calling you saying, hey, what the hell happened here? More than likely, hopefully you've provided that homeowner a warranty so that if anything were to happen, that's all taken care of. Okay. Also, if you are selling a renovated property and you're the investor, another thing you want to look at is Home Warranty of America. They offer warranties, and that provides a lot of assurance to the homeowner, and it's also a great piece to add to your marketing, which is, hey, this is a renovated property, and it's also under home warranty. And you pick that up for an extra like $200, $300. So check it out, Home Warranty of America. Pretty cool. Next, they're not paying me. I should start asking for like some sort of sponsorship for like every time I blast these out. But anyway, we're not going to do that. So number 2, contractors not showing up. You all have heard me say this so many times. There's nothing as frustrating as having a contractor not show up on time. This happens all the time. Trust me, it happens all the time. They say they're going to be there at a specific time, and they'll show up maybe an hour late, sometimes 15 minutes late. So if you do have a contractor that shows up on time to your first appointment, that's a great sign. If on their first interview they are already behind 15, 20, 30 minutes, that's a red flag. Okay, so you can these are red flags that you have to look out for from the beginning, because it will continue. It's not something that just happened or they ran late, In fact, on the first meeting is when you really should try to impress the client. So if a contractor shows up super late, just don't even deal with it. Now, you can also call their past clients and ask exactly, get some names, get some numbers, give them a call, some referrals, and find out whether or not the person says what he claims he can do. All right. And one other thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you are having your contractors sign lien waivers. And a lien waiver, you can look it up on Google. It's pretty simple. It's almost like a receipt, like it is saying, it's a document, and it says lien waiver, and typically it'll have the title company's name up at the top, and it'll say, this contractor has been paid X amount of the total contract price, and then you'll have, that specific payment that you gave them, and then it'll have the total contract price, and it'll have the balance left. And that has to get signed and notarized by the contractor. And every time you pay them, they have to give you that back, so that at the end, they cannot claim to have never received payment. So that's just something that you want to keep in mind, and preventing any sort of mechanic liens that a contractor can place on your property. So again, start solid on your foundation from the beginning. Talk clearly with your contractor. Ensure that you have a contract in place that specifies price, payments, so the frequency of payments, are you going to pay them every 2 weeks, and completion date. And be very careful, because what happens is, if for any reason, what I've seen is they're expecting the payment every 2 weeks, but if the work does not match the amount of payment you're providing, you have to bring that up right off the bat and don't make the payment. And that should be also stipulated in the contract, because you'll have some of these guys show up and not do anything. And then when you go to see their work, they're expecting the payment, and you're like, well, you haven't done really crap. Why are you expecting me to get you a check here if you haven't done anything? You've been basically, I don't know what the hell you've been doing here for the last 2 weeks. Now, your job as the investor is to go there daily, or have someone there that is monitoring the work. If you can't make it, another great thing is just set up internet at your property, buy some security cameras. You can get the Ring at Best Buy. You can also get Casa, and that one's great because it's got great quality. Ring, for some reason, has the crappiest quality camera. It's like you can make out the body, but you can never make out the face. But with Casa, you can actually, it's beautiful. It's like 4K. It's awesome, and it's actually cheaper. So you can set those cameras inside your job site, and then you can actually see what they're doing, and you can actually communicate to your contractors through that. So it's just always good when you have something there, so that they feel like the big brother is watching. All right. So and they'll stay on top of it. So that's another great thing to look out for. Anyway, continuing to our, oh wow, we are on our number one. So do we have drums, Locke? Can we get some sound effects on drums? Let's see. Let's see. We're going to try this out, just because if not, we'll have to edit it. But we've got the Rodecaster Pro. Okay, well, there we go. I like it, the applause. That's good. Awesome. I like the applause. So, number one, okay? The number one thing that you also have to look out for that you didn't foresee or forecast when you were planning your investment is break-ins. Break-ins. Guys, gals, everyone, listen up. Break-ins is the most frustrating thing that can happen to you. And, your contingency set at 5% or 10%. Well, now, you know what? Sometimes it can go to 15, 20%. So that's something that you also want to look out for. The way to mitigate that, and you can do everything, but, a rat's a rat, and they're going to do whatever they can to sometimes break in. Most of the time, believe it or not, it's some of your contractors. All right. Keep that in mind. So, we had someone that would, anytime they would show up to the job, about a week later, there would be a break-in. Connect the dots, right? You're not supposed to blame anyone. But, after a while, it's just, come on. It's just something doesn't add up. Well, we got rid of that person and no more break-ins. So keep an eye on your contractors. Want to make sure that you trust them. If they seem a little fishy, go with your gut. And yeah, these break-ins can cost you an arm and a leg. One way to mitigate, again, is you can set up, there's two companies out there. One is called VPS, Vacant Property Security. I haven't seen them much anymore, but they were a lot on vacant properties here in the south side of Chicago. Well, throughout the city of Chicago, I should say, excuse me. And there's another one that I think has now dominated the market, and it's called DAWGS, DAWGS, and that's metal security. And you can put them on the windows and doors. But I can tell you, we had a property at like 6100 block of Rhodes, I remember. And even with the DAWGS security on the windows, they broke through and still got in. So, keep that in mind. So you want to set maybe like some metal security. Those are metal doors and metal frames that they put outside the window. You want to also set up security cameras. I've talked about that a lot. Alarm systems. We use SmartLink. SmartLink is pretty affordable. It's a great system. You can go with ADT, but I feel like ADT is super expensive. And you can get like this, if not better, with SmartLink. And that's what we've just been using. So super friendly. And actually it's great. Someone breaks in, they'll call you. If you have if they don't get a hold of you, the police will usually be out in a matter of 10 to 30 minutes, more than likely 30 minutes. But there's a lot of damage that can be done within those 30 minutes. So keep that in mind. So that's another thing. And one other thing that I've been doing a lot is I have the Google, what is that called? The Google, but anyway, it's like Alexa, right? Well, you can either use okay. I think we have a tornado warning. All right, sorry about that. There was a crazy tornado warning. It was just a fire drill. Nothing to worry about. But anyway, as I was mentioning earlier on, another new thing that I'm doing is with the Alexa or Google Mini, that's what it was, is that you can set up just music or even a radio. Just put a radio on and have that thing going on full blast by the doors and windows so that if anyone tries to break in, there's like a second guess, like, wait a minute, maybe some of the contractors stuck around, they're drinking, kind of hung out at the project, at the site, which, by the way, I don't recommend. Don't let your contractors ever drink on the job because they start building a habit, and next thing you know, like, your quality is shot. So, that's something that they can do after the job, and ideally not on the job site. So, because trust me, it snowballs into just a bigger, deeper problem. You want to be serious from the beginning treat your job site and your project, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're spending on it. So, keep it professional. And that's a great way to mitigate any sort of break-ins. So security cameras, right? Radio, loud music, SmartLink, to protect with the alarms. And you can also put, if you really want, you can put like DAWGS present. Go to Home Depot and you can buy there's security DAWGS on site. Enter at your own risk. These are all great things. Another one is you can go to Amazon and you can buy ADT. Go to just look up an ADT sign, and you can stick that right there on your front yard, backyard, and you can also get the stickers and you can just put that on every single window. So it's just adding a ton of security. Trust me, you're going to want to do this because even, sometimes if, let's say you just moved in, you still haven't connected the electric, you don't have the security cameras, at least get the stickers on there because a lot of it's psychological. They're going to see that and it's going to prevent, or at least it's something extra that you can do to deter all the amount of crazy damage. Because I'm telling you, that is it can make or break a deal. In like 30 minutes, we've had refrigerators, microwaves, stoves, all stolen. Actually, a lot more, a bunch of other material as well. And again, I still think the majority of it comes from your contractors. Having someone or a new person on the job. You'd be here's another great one to look out for before we wrap this up is the trash bags. Sometimes they'll take materials and they'll toss the material into like a black garbage bag, so that you can't see through. And then they'll toss it out as though it's garbage. And then they'll come back at night and pick it up in the dumpster. So look out if you feel like you're missing tools or material. Go check the dumpster. Go check all the bags. Sometimes they'll also hide the material, like in a closet or somewhere that you haven't checked. And then Or we had one person, it was great. I wish I could put this on camera. New guy, it was his nephew, I think he was like 18, 19, decided to come on the job, and we're missing all these tools. So what he did is he'd go to the third floor, he'd look around, and he started tossing like the drills. And we have a picture of him tossing the drill, and then he goes around back an hour later, he takes it, and then he puts it into his car, and then another hour later, he goes back up during his lunch, and he kind of spots the camera, and he had an oh shit moment, oh my God, I'm caught, and he keeps looking at the camera. Well, in any event, we called him out. I was able to see the footage and never went back, and obviously we prosecute that. So, and we have proof and evidence. So, again, the importance of cameras, that's a great, I would love to add that. I'll have to find out if I can. But okay, so anyway, those were the top 5 things to look out for if you are buying an investment property. These are the surprises that you don't really look out for, but they will show up. I guarantee you, no matter how many deals you do, at one point in the future, you're going to run into these issues, no matter what. Damaged, let's see here, the flooding, the leaks, contractors not showing up, break-ins, damaged joists and beams. These are all things that show up. So, all right, I hope you've liked that. As always, please, if you can, just hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends and family. And thank you so much again. Take care.